Yo, I've been on this journey for a minute now. Came across a lot of truth, gotta bring it out. I never been the type to speak till I understood. I always kept my mouth shut for my own good. I'm noticing that all my people going off. They already lost, they don't like to keep none of your laws. That's for me, I'm a beast set apart to the end. I'm a heart, this my prayer, I'm a sin, let's begin. They don't wanna do what you want them to. They just rather do what they wanna do. Then they had a nerve to complain about
Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
as long as they don't keep your commandments. I guess they would never understand it. It's pretty obvious that we betrayed you. We need you back, can you please come and save us?
Hope all is well.
Soul as you look down from heaven, I'm sending all of these prayers up for my sisters and my brethren. Complain about this and complain about that, all we do is complain. But when are we ever gonna wake up and rise and let go of them chains? You cannot just do what you want and you think you're gonna run from them flames. I pray that the higher will save us cause you do good things again.
They don't wanna do what you want them to.
Amen.
They just rather do what they wanna do. Then they had a nerve to complain about why people keep on getting gunned down. As long as they don't keep your commandments, I guess they would never understand it. It's pretty obvious that we betrayed you. We need you back, but you please come and save us. You want them to. They just rather do what they wanna do. Then they had a nerve to complain about why people keep on getting gunned down. As long as they don't keep your commandments, I guess they would never understand it. It's pretty obvious that we betrayed you. We need you back, can you please come and save us? Amen.
Yeah, you can't hear me. I'm tripping. Anyway, I'm gonna share it with you all. So here we go. That was your boy Yarika and Karate Za. I love that track. But yeah, let me get this. So I think I'm gonna start off with this video. Let me get this. Interesting subject.
I'm brother Amayan, and I got my brother with me.
All right.
Brother.
Shalom, Israel.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Kabar. Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Spiritual Food.
Okay, with that said, today's show is proof that Cornelius is an Israelite. I know there's many people out there that think.
Interesting subject. Proof that Cornelius is an Israelite. Now, This is a topic that is very important to me because not only does it solidify who the Gentiles are, but it also gives you insight to biblical prophecy concerning the regathering of the kingdom of Israel. So I wanted to get a couple of videos and put it together. Just so happened this popped up in my subscriptions and notifications today, and I listened to a little bit of it, and it got me back in the mood to tackle this thing. Who are the Gentiles? But before I start that, I'm gonna actually go to a little bit of research that I did prior to seeing this video today about Cornelius, right? And it's on Wiki. It's Cornelius the centurion, right? It says so Cornelius was a centurion in the cohorts, right? Mentioned as cohorts Italica in the Vulgate. He was stationed in Caesarea, the capital of Roman Judea province. He is depicted in the New Testament as a God-fearing man who always prayed and was full of good works and deeds of alms. Cornelius received a vision which an angel of the Most High tells him that his prayers have been heard. He understands that he's chosen for a higher alternative, right? I was looking for where it says Cornelius was the first. There he goes. Cornelius was one of the first Gentiles converted to Christianity. Now, I got a problem with that, according to the doctrines that I've been taught. Converted in a Hebraic sense, is actually that. It's the word Hebrew. The word Hebrew means to cross over. Conversion is basically the same thing. You're crossing over from one belief system to the other belief system. You're denouncing one God and you're holding fast to the other God. So conversion happened according to the doctrine that I was taught. It happened since the beginning of the establishment of Israel as a nation. They said that strangers that sojourn among you would be able to partake of the Passover, yada, yada, yada. But I'm not even going to go into that just yet because that's what I was going to bring out in my next lesson about who are the Gentiles in the next lesson. So I'm going to just skip over that right now. But I just wanted to show you that according to popular belief, they say that Cornelius was the first Gentile convert, which is not true, right? So then that enticed me to look further into Cornelius in Acts chapter 10, right? So Acts chapter 10, as we read briefly in the description in Wikipedia, it says that there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called Italian band. Read that again. It says there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. It doesn't give you his ethnicity. It just says a certain man. All right. Verse 2, a devout man and one that feared the Most High with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. Okay. So from verse 1 and 2, this is where they get the popular belief and also where they come up with the idea that he was a Gentile because he was part of the Italian band. But then that got my brain running again. And I started looking up what I'm going to show you about the Italian band and the Roman armies, primarily the Roman armies, and a little bit of this. Josephus, if you can see that, the book of Josephus, the wars of the antiquity of the antiquity of the Jews, and then the wars of the Jews is where you can find these key role players in finding out that a Roman citizen is just like an American citizen. It's a melting pot. Everybody that's a Roman citizen or a part of the Roman army was not Roman. By blood, they were a Roman citizen. Just like we're in America, we're not actually Americans, but we're quote unquote African Americans or Caucasian Americans or whatever American that you are, and you fight in their armies together. So it's the same thing. I mean, I don't have to ride on that. It's the same thing today. So we're going to go over a couple of things before I even get into what I was going to get into. And I was going to get into it, but I feel like going back to the research that I found before I get into the video, right? So this is what I found, right? I'm going to start this video over.
That Cornelius
Oh
is
gosh, not that.
a Gentile.
Hold on. There we go.
We're looking at the bas-reliefs of the Arch of Titus, the most famous of which show the spoils of Jerusalem being brought into Rome in the great triumphal parade honoring the general, soon-to-be Emperor Titus at his great victory at destroying Jerusalem.
A triumphal arch is something through which the emperor would enter with booty, with lots of attendants and soldiers and prisoners of war. I mean, this was a big moment of celebrating victory in Rome.
At the end of which the general of the losing army would be ceremonially murdered.
Did that happen at this?
Yes, a guy named Simon, son of Giora, who was one of the rebels of Jerusalem.
Did you hear that? Simon, son of Giora, leader of the revolutionary forces during the Jewish-Roman War. So when I found this, after looking into the relief of the Arch of Titus, finding out there had a certain soldier that was a part of that army when one of the last defenses before they ransacked Jerusalem in 70 AD, and drove out the Israelites that were there into the lower parts of Africa, and then, you know, so forth and so on, get scattered throughout all the nations of the world. And they were Israelites, by the way. I had to make emphasis on that, but Simon, the son of Giora, leader of the revolutionary forces during the Jewish-Roman War, I looked him up in the Josephus, right? And that's where I'm going to transition to this other video, right? That somebody brought out. Judah Teach. Let's see. Where is it? Right here. Listen to this.
I set free
Somebody went too far.
through his wrong. Well,
check this out. All right. Now this is the same.
now if you own the book of Josephus,
and I do, I own the book of Josephus, right? So I looked it up, right?
and you read through the antiquities of the Jews, you'll see multiple accounts of this happening. I'm just going to read one account to make the point. This is the book of Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, book 13, chapter 2, section 3. This is a letter from King Demetrius to the Jews. It says, I set free the Jews that are inhabitants of my kingdom, in order that no injury be done them. I also give leave to such of them as are willing to list themselves in my army, that they may do it, and those as far as 30,000. So King Demetrius had 30,000 available positions in his army for the Jews. It says, which Jewish soldiers, wheresoever they go, shall have the same pay that my own army has. And some of them will I place in my garrisons, meaning some of them would be on post as lookouts. Watch this. It says, and some as guards about mine own body, and as rulers over those that are in my court. So as we see, not only could an Israelite reach the status of a centurion, he could reach the status of a personal guard to the king. He could make it into the king's court. So Acts 10:1 does not prove that Cornelius was an actual Italian. It only
Now, that was my point exactly. It doesn't prove that he's a natural born Gentile, because as we saw in Josephus, it clearly says that this particular king at the time allowed Jews by the thousands to join the army and get paid. Okay? So I have another reference in the Josephus pertaining to the guy we saw earlier in this other video, right? Simon, son of Giora, right? I found him.
Was killed at the end.
In our
Right.
history, when we look at the
Okay? Now, let's read that. It says, this is in the Josephus Jewish Wars, book 2, chapter 19, section 2, and it reads, I might be too loud. It reads, but as for the Jews, when they saw the war approaching their metropolis, they left the feast and betook themselves to their arms, and taking courage greatly for their multitude, went in a sudden and disorderly manner to the fight with a great noise, and without any consideration had of the rest of the seventh day, although the Sabbath was the day to which they had the greatest regard. But that range which made them forget the religious observation of Sabbath made them too hard for their enemies in the fight. With such violence, therefore, did they fall upon the Romans, as to break into their ranks and to march through the midst of them, making a great slaughter as they went, insomuch that unless the horsemen and such part of the footmen were not yet tired in the action, had wheeled around and helped that part of the army which was not yet broken, Cestius, with his whole army, had been in danger. However, 515 of the Romans were killed, of which number 400 were footmen, and the rest horsemen, while the Jews lost only 22. When the Most High is with you, who can be against you? They lost 500 plus men in that day. And the Israelites, the Jews, us, we only lost 22. So that reminds you of the movie 300, because we are the Spartans as well. And I can prove that as well. But we ain't talking about the Spartans today. You know, the movie 300. Let me continue. So it says the Jews lost only 22 men that day, of whom the most valiant were the kingsmen of Monobazus, king of Adabin, Bene, and their names were Monobazus and Kenedius, and the next to them were Niger or Nigger of Perea, and Silas of Babylon, who had deserted from King Agrippa to the Jews, for he had formerly served in his army. Right? When that front of the Jewish army had been cut off, the Jews retired into the city. But still Simon, the son of Giora, see, that's what I was talking about. Simon, the son of Giora. Let's see. Right here. Simon, the son of Giora, who they was talking about in this video, right? Fell upon the backs of the Romans as they were ascending up Beth Horon, and put the hindmost of the army into disorder, and carried off many of the beasts that carried their weapons of war. Okay, so this is where Simon or Simon, son of Giora, took his last breath in this revolt, in this fight against the Romans, which they lost a lot of men that day, but he got caught up in one of them, and they further explain in the video of, what happened. But I just wanted to bring that out to show you that you can't always look at stuff for face value when it comes to the scriptures. It's evident that Jews could hold not only a position in their army, but they could hold a high-ranking position next to the king as a personal guard and get paid just as much as this natural Roman blood soldiers got paid. So, just to give you an idea of what a couple of references said according to these people that we just read in the Josephus. Let me blow that up so you can say it. All right. I'll read it briefly. It says, Nigger of Perea, patriot leader of Perea, Transjordan, after distinguishing himself in the attack on the Cestius at the outset of the revolt against the Romans in the autumn of 66, Nigger apparently took charge of operations against them in Idumea, in due course becoming for a short time the deputy governor of this province. John the Essene and Silas of Babylon, he was the only one of the three to survive, leading another attack triumph of a zealot extremist. He was among the moderates who were executed apparently on suspicion of wishing to come to the terms with the Romans. So this is also in the book of Josephus, right? So here goes the other guy. I looked up Perea to see what part of the world that was in, and coincidentally, for the sake of time, it says that this is a place right outside of Galilee where the Messiah was born, and most likely this is where he was baptized when you read this, right? I remember reading that, right? When it talks about Perea. But I'm going to go to here. This is John the Essene. This is the other player, the other soldier in the battle. And it says, John the Essene, patriot and leader described by Josephus as a man of outstanding courage and sagacity, already recognized for his ability at the beginning of the revolt against the Romans. He was placed in command of the province of Thalmna by the revolutionary government shortly afterward, in association with Nigger of Perea. And I keep saying nigger because Uh, that's Latin for black, right? The deputy governor of Idumea and Silas the Babylonian, a trained soldier formerly in the charge of the disastrous expedition against Ashkelon, right? He and Silas were killed in the first attack. It's doubtful if the Essene, quote unquote Essene, implies that he belonged to that body. It may mean a man of Essie, right? So what they're trying to say here to ignore the fact that he was an Essene, in my opinion, is that he might just be uh, in uh, in that geographical location as far as a resident of the Essie in that area. But but and then we get to Cornelius. So then this is when I did a little bit of YouTube hopping today. But that was my research, and that's what I wanted to bring out. But these are just videos that just prove what I'm saying. And he articulated it very well, way better than I can. So like here you go.
Gentile, but we're going to go into the scriptures and bring out biblical evidence to the scriptures. Facts showing that Cornelius is not a non-Israelite, but is in fact an Israelite. Okay, the first place I want to go is the Exodus 23. Can I get Exodus 23? There's certain things that we got to build up first and establish before we actually get to Acts, the 10th chapter. So I want to go to Exodus 23, and I want to start at verse 13. Exodus 23, and starting at verse 13.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 23, beginning of verse 13.
Sorry about that. I'm gonna put the scriptures on the screen. All right. And then we can get into it. Right? To Exodus 23. I don't know what verse. You see that? Let's see. That might be too small, huh? I might have to use something else. Looks pretty big though. Just in case, until I get to that, I'll use this other one. The other Bible I had up, which is that one. Right? Exodus. I know you can see that. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Oh, it's already bigger. Oh, wow, it's too big. All right, so Exodus. Let me press play on this thing.
And in all things I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the names of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy
Not
mouth.
only could an Israelite.
Okay, so the precept here I want is the first part. It says, the Most High is saying, in all things that I have said unto you, to be circumspect means to be
Sorry about that.
Be circumspect.
I'm getting that verse.
the 10th chapter. Can I get Exodus 23?
All right.
There's certain things that we got to build up first and establish before we actually get to Acts, the 10th chapter.
23.
So I
And
want
what?
to go to Exodus 23, and I want to start at verse 13. Exodus 23, and starting at verse 13.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 23, beginning of verse 13. And in all things I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the names of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth.
Okay, so the precept here I want is the first part. It says, the Most High is saying, in all things that I have said unto you, to be circumspect means to be sensible, okay, or to make sense of, right? Careful to consider. So we're going to bring forth scripture's evidence to show that Cornelius is an Israelite, and it'll be up to you to see if we're making sense, or is what we're saying make sense, or is it sensible to what we're saying, versus the other side who are saying that he is not. Who's making more sense? Because the Most High says here is to be sensible or to make sense of all things that I've said unto you, and that would be through the writers of the book. Okay? So from there, I want to come to the book of the Renewed Testament. Can I get Matthew chapter 15, verse 24? Okay, so I got to establish who the Messiah came to, who he sent his apostles to, and hit the prophecy and establish this, and hit on some Gentiles, and then we're going to jump into the book of Acts and get into this Cornelius thing. So the book of Matthew chapter 15, can I get verse 24?
The Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So the Messiah is letting us know who the Father sent him to. Specifically, is to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You go into this English word, which is lost. In the Greek word, they let you know that it means punished and put away. Okay? So lost means to be punished and put away, which would again only fit one people.
Let's see if that means put away right quick. The word loss. I wanted it now. There we go. It's so hard to find it like this in this Bible, this app. Unless I'm just doing it wrong. They got a bunch of loss. All right. So let me get this. Lost would be in Matthew, what was that, 15? That was in Matthew 15. Yep. So the word lost in Matthew 15. Lost is G622, right? Oh, that's why it's not working. Gotta be in the Greek. See? I don't know why it does that. All right, there we go. Lost. Right? And it's G622. Right? 3622. Where you at? There it is. What? Why is it giving me all this? Okay, that is the word. Appaloomi. Right here. There we go. Right? Yeah, that's it. To gather, receive, remove, gather in, qual, to gather, collect, to gather, to bring up the rear, to gather, to take away, remove, withdraw, Nepal, to assemble, be gathered, to gather one's father, to be brought in or into, associating with the others, to be taken away, remove, perish, to gather, take in, regard. That's right. So that fits with prophecy in Hosea to me. Yeah. So gonna go back. Thank you. Gonna go back.
People, you can look up this Greek word this Greek word from the English word lost, and you can see when you put it together, it's punished and put away. Okay? From there, you can get the same book in Matthew chapter 10, verse 5 and 6.
Matthew chapter 10, beginning at verse 5. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So we clearly see who the Messiah sent his apostles to. They're going to start their ministry in Judea and the surrounding regions, but it's going to go from that point and go out to the rest of the lost sheep of the house of Israel,
Repeat that.
scattered or dispersed abroad. This is who the mission is being sent to. This is who the gospel is being brought to, these people, starting with the Messiah, Israel. Going to go from that mission.
Enter ye not. Matthew chapter 10, beginning at verse 5. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So we clearly see who the Messiah sent his apostles to. They're going to start their ministry in Judea and the surrounding regions, but it's going to go from that point and go out to the rest of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, scattered or dispersed abroad. This is who the mission is being sent to. This is who the gospel is being brought to, these people, starting with the Messiah. And he gave the same commission to his apostles. The exact same thing. He's not deviating from the plan. He's sticking to the. They're going to start their ministry.
What up, Calvin?
In Judea.
I hope all is well, cuz. I see you in there. I hope all is well. I had to pause the video for that, bro. Well, I can't wait to see you, man.
Starting with the Messiah.
Go back to the lesson.
The script.
Love you too.
Okay. Can I get James 1 and 1? James 1 and 1 to come right behind to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. James 1 and 1.
James chapter 1, verse 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting.
Okay, so clearly we see that the 12 tribes were scattered abroad. The apostles has at some point got to go get these people that's been scattered abroad, okay? Because they are a part of the lost sheep of the house of Israel that's scattered abroad. The gospel is to these people, starting with the Messiah. And again, the same commission is going out to his apostles, okay? Let me get the book of Luke chapter 19. Luke chapter 19, and I think it's verse 9 or 10. Luke chapter 19, and let me get verse 10.
Luke chapter 19, verse 10. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost.
So clearly, Christ himself is saying here that he's come to seek them out. Remember, they're dispersed abroad, so he's going to seek them out, okay, through his apostles. Going to seek them out and save that which was lost again, meaning punished and put away. Again, when you put together this Greek word, okay, apolumi, A-P-P-O-L-U-M-I. Apo is away, and ulumai is punished. So punished and put away when you put this Greek word together. Again, speaking of only one people, Right? Let me get one more. Can I get St. John's chapter 11? St. John's 11th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 49.
This is the Gospel of John, chapter 11, beginning at verse 49. And one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all. Verse 50. Nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. Verse 51. And spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for that nation. Verse 52.
Okay, so we clear here that this is a prophecy, which prophecy comes from heaven, from the Most High. So John is letting us know that when Caiaphas here is speaking, he's speaking through prophecy, which comes from heaven, and it speaks about Christ dying for that nation. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 52. And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad.
Okay, clearly. All right, so we know what Christ did. He came to the wilderness in Judea, and then he died, resurrected, spoke to them for about 40 days, and then he ascended. And then he sent them out to the lost sheep that's dispersed abroad. The children of God that's scattered abroad is who he sent them to according to this prophecy here. So the apostles were fulfilling prophecy.
Right,
the mission
right.
was to get the gospel to these people dispersed abroad first.
Con.
You can't go no backwards in saying that they went out there and went and get real Gentiles and negated the prophecy.
Con.
That's out of order. The scriptures say, let all things be done decently and what? In order. There is a order.
Now with that, it's late. I know I got on here. It's 1 o'clock. I'm tired. But I'm going to be back on to finish this right here because it's interesting. And I'm going to continue to do my own research and not take people's word for it. But until then, Shabbat Shalom. I love y'all. Rest up. And happy Sabbath.
Yo, I've been on this journey for a minute now. Came across a lot of truth, gotta bring it out. I never been the type to speak till I understood. I always kept my mouth shut for my own good. I'm noticing that all my people going off. They already lost, they don't like they keep none of your laws. As for me, I'm a beast set apart to the end. I'm a heart, this my prayer, I'm a sin. Let's begin. They don't wanna do what you want them to. They just rather do what they wanna do. Then they had a nerve to complain about why people keep on getting gunned down. As long as they don't keep your commandments, I guess they would never understand it. It's pretty obvious that we betrayed you. We need you back, could you please come and save us?
Soul as you look down from heaven, I'm sending all of these prayers up for my sisters and my brethren. Complain about this and complain about that, all we do is complain. But when are we ever gonna wake up and rise and let go of them chains? You cannot just do what you want and you think you gon' run for them flames. I pray that the higher will save us, cause you do good things again.
They don't wanna do what you want them to.
Amen.
They just rather do what they wanna do. Then they got the nerve to complain about why people keep on getting gunned down. As long as they don't keep your commandments, I guess they would never understand it. It's pretty obvious that we betrayed ya. We need you back, can you please come and save us?
Kawa haya basha